Like a bunch of these guys, they're solely focused on themselves. How many times do you see them mention their parents in their lives? Never. Because they aren't in their lives anyways. They're in their own house or something like that. They're not living with them. They don't barely contact them like once a week or something like that. And this is the culture normalized in the West, because a lot of the guys who you watch, who you look up to, these guys were raised in the West, and they were raised according to those ideals. And the ideals of the West about, especially like parents and all that, is a lot like less strict than it is for like the more Eastern countries and all that. Like for example, if you see these countries in Asia, in South Asia, even in the Middle East, all these countries, they value taking care of your parents like a lot. Like it's one of the worst things to do if you don't take care of your parents, and if you neglect them, and if you yell at them. But this is so prevalent in the West. If your friend allowed you to stay at his house for a week with free Wi-Fi, free food, free water, free electricity, all this stuff, right? If he allowed you to stay at his house for a week, just a week, 7 days, you would be like, yo, bro, I'll do anything for you. Like, all this, like, emotional stuff and all that. Oh, yeah, you saved my life, whatever, right? But then your parents, the ones who have been feeding you, the ones who have been giving you, I don't know, electricity, providing a roof over your head, you're not going to thank them. You're going to instead yell at them. And instead, focus on what your differences are rather than how much you meet together. You're going to focus on your differences and yell at them and swear at them for that. And you don't want to threaten to leave the house because of that. But someone who gives you a house for 7 days, you're like, oh yeah, man, I'll do anything for you, bro. What kind of mentality is this? Me and my parents have a lot in differences, right? More than they think. Because I keep a lot of stuff like, kind of hidden from them. For example, my views on how you should live your life, how you should become, financially stable. And also, more importantly, my religious beliefs are also different from theirs. I have a lot of differences with them, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to scream at them, or I'm not going to do any of that. I'm not going to go to university, find an escape. Oh yeah, I'm going to go to university like 10,000 kilometers away from my house so that I can escape from it. I'm not going to do any of that. Even though I have major differences with them, I'm not going to do any of that. Or when I get older, I'm not going to abandon them like how so many people in the West do. Especially white people. I'm not saying that, white people are like, all white people are bad. A lot of you white people who are watching on base, but a lot of these white people in like the West and all that, right? At least not in like minority houses, but like in white people houses, bro. They send their parents off to like these retirement homes or whatever. And my sister tells me she works as a nurse, right? My sister tells me about these like old like people or whatever in their hospital or whatever, and then they're like, oh yeah, my son hasn't talked to me in like a few months or whatever. Like, bro, a few months is crazy, bro. A few months is absolutely insane without talking to your son. And that's entirely the son's responsibility, because obviously the mother wants to talk to his son, but he just can't because the son doesn't want to interact with her. This is the idea that the West tells people, that instead of taking care of your parents in return for what they had done when you were younger, as they brought you up for that entire 20 years, 25 years of your life, and giving and returning that favor, instead what this Western ideology tells you to do is to abandon your parents, put them in retirement homes, even if they're mentally stable or whatever, like they're not crazy in the head or whatever. Some people are old or whatever, they have like mental problems or whatever, shouting all the time. So in that case, it is understandable. But a lot of these guys, the majority of these guys, their parents are mentally stable. Maybe they have some physical problem, but yet they're still abandoning them in these retirement homes. I feel like as like a son or whatever, bro, I feel like I have a debt to pay to my parents for something. Like I feel like just innately, I feel like I have a debt to pay into them, because they've been bringing me up and all this stuff. So that's why I feel like it's so important to have the idea that you need to retire your parents. Like when you're older or whatever, bro, you need to have this idea that I need to become as financially free as possible so that I can retire my parents, or at least significantly reduce the amount of time that my dad works. And I think a lot of this stems from the hedonism in the West, and I've talked about this probably in my most recent video. I don't know when this video is going to come out, but I've talked about this very recently, that there's a lot of hedonism in the West and all this stuff. It's rising in the East as well. You see like all these like guys, these young men, they're excommunicating themselves from their parents simply because they're sleeping with a girlfriend, and their parents don't like approve of it, or they're doing drugs, or they're drinking alcohol, or they're partying, or they're doing all this behavior which their parents don't approve of, right? And that creates that tension between the children and the parents. You need to make sure that if you're a person in the West, that you don't associate with these types of people, because these types of people are only going to make your relationship with your parents a lot worse. The people who go drinking, the people you think that are having fun on all this stuff, posting themselves partying on social media all the time, bro. Don't hang around those guys. You need to hang around proper people. People who, actively try to improve themselves physically and mentally and have the same mindset as you, and you feel a sense of brotherhood around them. Don't hang out with these other party guys or whatever, these people who always play video games and have these bad habits, because that's only going to progressively worsen your relationship with everybody else around you and only improve your relationship with these other things that you're addicted to. The next time you feel angry at your parents, you have to give yourself a reason to not be mad. And there's so many different reasons, there's so many different logical reasons. One of which I'm gonna give you right now is that your future self will look back at this time when after your parents are gone or whatever and be like, oh yeah, why did I do that? Why did I waste my time? Why did I spend my time with my parents by yelling at them, by being disrespectful to them? Why did I spend my time doing that? And you're gonna regret it soon. So whenever you think about it, be like, yo, my future self is gonna regret this. If I do this, my future self is gonna look back at this and feel scarred, mentally scarred. For me, it's because like in my religion, and I'm a Muslim, so the treatment of your parents is very heavily focused on. Like it's one of the worst things you could do to like be disobedient to your parents. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect either, because I don't want to sound like a complete like hypocrite. I don't want to be complete hypocrite because I'm not the most perfect human being either. But in my religion, it's very bad. Like one of the worst things you could do if you're disrespectful to your parents. And sometimes like whenever I'm thinking about getting mad at my parents or something like that, I remember that. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I have to control myself. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. My name is JBM. I hope you learned something from this. Stay focused, remain disciplined, take care, peace.